Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to share with you a recent acquisition of mine. In my previous video, the Zakaria Books book haul video, kind of around the end of that video, I was about to say something and then I kind of didn't. You guys can check that out. I was referring to this book here. Prior to making that video, I basically just saw that they restocked and they got this book that I've been searching for quite some time and could not find anywhere else. So I want to share that with you today. Before I do so, I want to talk about a specific tafsir, and that is Tafsir al-Baydawi. Tafsir al-Baydawi, known as Anwar al-Tanzil wa Asrar al-Ta'wil, written by Qadi al-Baydawi. It's a very famous Matan of Tafsir, considered one of the three mutun of Tafsir. The three being Jalalain, Tafsir al-Nasafi, and al-Baydawi. Now, what makes this a Matan of Tafsir? A Matan is a textbook of Tafsir. So aren't the other larger works textbooks of Tafsir? They are not textbooks, they are expounding on them. What makes a matan? A matan is the conciseness of the text. That you fit in a lot of information within a few words and concise and succinct ibara in text. Imam al-Baydawi, what he did, is a Shafi'i scholar, an Usuli scholar. He is an expert in Usul al-Fiqh and Usul al-Aqaid as well. When he writes something, he writes it very, as I mentioned, succinct. He takes all that information and he kind of like summarizes it in the least amount of words possible. So what happens is he takes a lot of information and he'll give you just a few words. So every single word has a specific meaning to it. It has a specific purpose why it's there. And there's a lot of things to unpack. That is what essentially mutun are, and that's why students memorize mutun. Now, I don't think anyone has memorized Tafsir al-Baydawi, illa masha'Allah, but just because it is relatively large. If anyone memorized any kind of matan in Tafsir, perhaps it would be Jalalain, because it's extremely concise. Anyway, what Imam al-Baydawi did in his Tafsir is he summarized and gathered together three of the very large tafasir of the past. The first one was Tafsir al-Kashaf of al-Imam al-Zamakhshari. Now, it's very famous that Imam al-Zamakhshari was a Mu'tazili scholar, so he does have Mu'tazili aspects in his tafsir. Imam al-Baydawi did not take the Mu'tazili aspects from there. Imam al-Baydawi is a scholar of the Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. What he did do is took all of the Arabic aspects of al-Kashaf. Al-Kashaf is a tafsir that specializes in the Arabic nuances, the balagha, the sarf al-nahu, all of these beautiful aspects of tafsir. And it's one of a kind. Actually, everyone that comes after Imam al-Zamakhshari kind of takes from him or is in some way influenced by his tafsir al-Kashaf. So it's a very important tafsir in the lineage of all of the different types of tafasir. Everyone takes from it, despite him being a Mu'tazili. And nowadays, if you buy al-Kashaf, usually they will have footnotes wherein any kind of thing where, his Mu'tazili views come out in the tafsir, they will, inform you regarding that and tell you the correct aqidah in that regard. So he took that and he summarized it. The second work he took is the tafsir of Imam al-Raghib al-Asfahani. And, he's the famous author of Mufradat li Alfaz al-Quran, which is an amazing dictionary of Quranic terms. Imam al-Raghib's tafsir focuses heavily also on the Arabic side, but other aspects as well, so he took from there. I have not been able to find a edition of Imam Raghib's tafsir. I'm looking for one. I would like to purchase that as well. I have an edition of Kashaf, but I'm looking for a new one because that one is like this. If you look at this edition of Baydawi, it's like an economic edition, meaning like, they make it cheap for students. They like jam pack everything here, no footnotes, no hawashi, and with the columns, so it's very fine print, but it does fit all in one volume. So this is the first edition that I purchased. Anyway, the third tafsir that Imam al-Baydawi took and summarized and incorporated in his Matan is al-Tafsir al-Kabir, or Mafatih al-Ghaib of Imam Fakhruddin al-Razi, which is a very famous tafsir, contains many gems of spirituality, of ilm al-kalam, aqaid. It's not a easy tafsir. It's actually meant for more advanced students who have understood usul al-fiqh in different aspects, as well as ilm al-aqaid, things of that nature. So he took those three tafsirs, al-Kashaf, the tafsir of Raghib Asfahani, and al-Tafsir al-Kabir. He summarized them all in what can fit into one volume. The amount of volumes that he took was, let's say, about 30 volumes of tafsir, and jam-packed it into one. So that is what Tafsir al-Baydawi is. And Tafsir al-Baydawi, since it was written, has been Makhdoom, meaning scholars have always written commentaries, hawashi, glosses, footnotes on this book. And it was considered a textbook in the Ottoman Empire. So most of the shuyukh of tafsir, if they became a sheikh of tafsir, they were a teacher of tafsir, they would have written a Hashiya, commentary, footnote, something on Baydawi. So it's always been studied. In the Hindi madaris, the madaris of Deoband, etc., this is also studied to a high degree. Now, when I was studying, we studied Tafsir al-Jalalain, and we did not study Tafsir al-Baydawi. Some of the other contemporary students, or my contemporaries, who are ulama now, they would have studied Jalalain in the 6th year or so, and in their 7th year, they would have studied portions of al-Baydawi. Right? So Baydawi is a very important tafsir, and it does require the student to know ilm al-kalam, and to know aspects of usul al-fiqh, and a good amount of Arabic knowledge. Recently, and some of you have seen my book haul from Ismail Books, I bought a new edition. I saw that al-Lubab has published a very beautiful edition of Tafsir al-Baydawi. That is what you are seeing right here, and this is it here. So in, let's see here, about 5 volumes, and very thick volumes, this is a new edition of Tafsir al-Baydawi. The same tafsir that was, crammed in this one, but is very legible, very beautiful print in this one here by al-Lubab. It also has hawashi, right? Some takhrij of hadith and other important footnotes. Extremely legible, beautiful edition. It has a dirasa in the beginning, meaning like in the beginning of the book on volume 1, the author talks about Baydawi, talks about the author, talks about how the book is special, and different aspects in that regard. So this is a very beautiful edition, and I'm very happy to have this in my collection. Now, the book that I was referring to before, that I really wanted to, prelude to that, Tafsir al-Baydawi, as I mentioned, has many, many different hawashi, commentaries, just a lot, because it was a textbook. And when you have a textbook, scholars always want to focus on those texts. So that is what in the ilmi world we call Makhdoom. The book is served, meaning the book is highly appreciated by scholars and then focused on by scholars. Another example of this is Sharh Aqaid Nasafiyya. When it comes to ilm al-aqaid, Sharh Aqaid Nasafiyya is a Makhdoom book. There's so many commentaries on it, so many scholars have come and focused on that work because it was a textbook, and students of knowledge will always study that. So scholars tend to focus on those works instead of obscure works, because usually people are not going to read those obscure works, so you want your work to be read, so you write a Hashiya commentary on those works that are already famous. That's usually what the scholars do. So I was looking for something that would open up Baydawi for me, something that would allow me to understand the rumuz. What do I mean by this? The rumuz are like the hidden aspects. As I mentioned before, Baydawi packs a lot of information in as less words as possible. So you may read it and understand what he's saying. That's totally fine. But what is he referring to? Who is he objecting against? Who is he siding with? All of this is happening in a brief text, and you wouldn't know the context. He will allude to some Arabic aspect where the word comes from, or he'll allude to some poem. He will sometimes allude to a masala in aqidah. So if you don't know the full context and the background, you're not going to fully understand al-Baydawi. You'll understand the text if you know Arabic and you've studied the preliminary sciences, but the full understanding, you won't know. And that's what a matan is. All mutun require shuruh. Scholars write mutun for that purpose. For instance, al-Aqidatu tahawiyah. You can read Aqidah tahawiyah not even in a day, like in an hour or two. In an hour you can read Aqidah tahawiyah. However, that was a purpose behind it. Imam al-Tahawi he listed down the beliefs of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and he alluded to things. Scholars later came and they wrote commentaries on this and then expounded on it, and that's why you have some volumes. Our Shaykh Mufti Ridha al-Haq, he's written a 2-volume commentary on Aqidah Tahawiyah, perhaps 1,000 pages. Right, so where does this 1,000 pages come from? It's because they're alluded to in the matan. So texts and mutun are meant to be extremely concise, and that's why we have these commentaries. Anyway, coming back to the topic, I was looking for something in this regard to open up Baydawi for me. And I've seen many different works. So there's the Hashiyat of al-Khafaji, of al-Qunawi. So I believe those two come together. But that is extremely large. I think close to 20 to 30 volumes. And it's basically one of the highest level commentaries or hawashi, footnotes, glosses on al-Baydawi. That was too much for me. I'm a beginner in my journey. I'm a talibul ilm. So I want something that will do what they do, but more in a concise manner. Open up Baydawi for me, but not go so deep into it that for one page of Baydawi you have like 50 pages of commentary. That's a little too much for me to handle at this moment. I kept on searching and I found a specific Hashiyat that does exactly what I wanted it to do. It covers almost everything in Baydawi, and he opens up exactly what Baydawi is talking about. He does the commentary on that. Just a side thing here, some of the hawashi, some of the books that are commentaries on, such as Baydawi, what they'll do is they will use Baydawi to go off on tangents. Now this is not something that I want, because I want to understand Baydawi. For instance, Hashiyat al-Jamal al-Jalalain. I used to have the book. I sold it to a friend of mine, which is a really great book. Imam al-Jamal. What he did is he took from various tafsirs and he's added on to Jalalain. Sometimes he's telling you what Jalalain is talking about. Sometimes he goes off topic and he's just, adding other stuff onto it. So what you want is something that opens up the specific text of that tafsir. So not everything does that. So I wanted to focus on that. Anyway, finally getting to the topic, I found that in Hashiya of Shaykh Muhyiddin ShaykhZada of al-Baydawi. So this is here in 8 volumes, and 8 volumes is actually very little for this, meaning it's crammed in this. And this, of course, is a DKI edition. I've heard, or some people were wondering regarding DKI. I would not advise buying from Darul Kutub al-Ilmiya unless there's nothing else. Now, I saw that there's another edition and then this edition. I have not seen a third. It probably is, but I have not seen it in my searching of this book. The other edition is like the printing press style, which is very hard to read. It's not legible. This is computer typed. This is much easier. That version is about 4 volumes. This is 8 volumes, so this is even more spaced out than that is. So I decided to go with this, knowing full well that sometimes the DKI publishing, they will make errors. It's actually quite often. So what I'm going to do is, cross-reference this. Anytime I don't understand a specific text, I'll cross-reference and see if I can understand that way. Anyway, this is what I want to share with you in this regard. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all tawfiq to understand books more, the books and the beautiful turath and legacy of Islamic literature, and allow us to appreciate it and allow us to take benefit from it. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.